Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is Four Wives and a Mic. Well, not really four wives today. We've got two wives and two babies. Now, today, the yummy mummy I have with me, I'm going to give her a chance to introduce herself. But first, I'm Nikki, mum of one, married for about a year now, a year and a bit. So still quite a young wife. And I guess, the whole point of this podcast is just to exchange, opinions, ideas, advice, suggestions, and how to have a healthy, happy, successful marriage. Okay, so I'm going to pass it on to my other mummy now. She's going to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss J. I'm a mummy of one. I've been married for about 4 years now, and has been great. But like all marriage, we have up and downs, so we're just gonna get into it.
Okay, so our topic today: should men cook? Now, when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, they should cook. I think men should cook. I think, in general, why not? Because these are two different people coming together. Your ideas of food and how food should be eaten and cooked and whatnot is going to be different from mine. Why not bring both together and let's both enjoy and experience what each other's lives has to offer? My everyday, however, isn't the same. My husband doesn't cook. He is not trying to cook. He don't want to cook. I'm surprised if he knows where the stove is. What about yourself?
I do believe, and I think it's important for men to actually step up and cook, not only to support their wife, but to also support the home, because it's a partnership. In the sense that we are both working to help each other. So, for example, when I go to work, when I do come after him, I would expect him to have cooked. Just to support and obviously expect. Because I do believe that, it's just fair. Yeah. Because if I do come home before him, I do feel like it's normal for me to cook.
Yeah.
And because we both work, so we need to kind of work together to make a home, especially when you start having children.
Yeah.
So let's say you have a child, he's not going to wait till mommy comes home knowing that daddy is home before he eats. So it's really important that men step up and support their wives and cook.
But do you think that's a very Western way to look at a marriage? Because I'm just thinking about Africans.
Yeah, but
Nigerians.
We are in Europe.
Uh-huh.
We are in the UK, so whatever is happening in Africa is in Africa, and women that deal with it.
I mean, yeah, I get that.
Even though you bring the culture, it's a cultural thing, isn't
it? Exactly.
I totally understand, but the same way as we do work as women in Europe, and we do work more probably than women in Africa, that culture...
Controversial!
Well, I'm sorry, we do work quite a bit, and we don't have that family support system that women back home have.
That's true, that support system is there.
Exactly. Yeah. So you make a massive difference on both of us supporting each other to make the home what it is and to make it successful, not just for us but for our children. So in that sense, I do believe that men should cook to help. Fair enough, they are too tired, but they should do something. Take away frozen food, pasta, something. It doesn't have to be jollof rice and
grilled
padded
chicken
jam,
and
the food that take hours, but something.
Yeah.
Food is food at the end of the day. So it's just to do something to make sure, okay, babe, I've cooked. You want to eat? Yes, I will eat. Even if it's not great, but I will still eat it because I'm hungry.
Appreciate it, yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that he has made the effort.
It's true. And I think that's important that actually you mentioned. I think that idea of the effort, because it's nice to feel like, actually, I've had a long day. I've been quite stressed out. Get home and there's dinner waiting. Yeah. But that's idealistic. I just feel like not nowadays, but just like African men in general, I don't know if that's the way that they are. I don't know if they think that way or they process things that way. I'm not saying I choosing my words very wisely. I don't know. I just find it difficult because I think about my dad, I think about my uncles, I think about my husband, and they're just not that way inclined. It's very much my role is to provide, and your role is to, your role as the wife is to make sure that when I come home, there's food, regardless of whether you've been to work.
My experience was different. Dad cooked when my mom is not in.
Really?
So, my mom was working. He would cook for us when she's not around till we were able to now cook. So now being married, somehow I do think it's something normal.
Yeah.
And again, my dad is also very African, but he's in France. Still Western.
Still has, some Western influence. Yeah.
But at the same time, he was able to balance that.
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, we don't have that family support system. So
It's true. It's so true.
If somebody who's over 50 who's been in Europe for over 30 years can just adapt, because it's all about adaptation to the culture, and you know, making that change to.
Well, it's funny you say that, but you know, my husband was pretty much brought up here, so you know, he's more than adapted. This is all he knows. Not all he knows, but it's a good part of what he knows. But he still has that very African mentality where, as the wife, you cook.
It's not just an easy way out of doing what you should do.
Maybe. Do you know what? A lot of times I do think, easy way out.
Because if you think about it,
it's true.
I'm sorry, when you go to Rome, you behave like Romans, right? So it's just too easy to say that African or that way of...
True, I guess. And do you know what? In all fairness, I know of, you know, other cultures, not Africans, Europeans, who actually English, who the wives are just that. It's they stay at home and you cook dinner. Husband wouldn't even touch the baby to put the baby to bed or bath, you know, and... So I guess it's not necessarily just restricted to...
I've heard about it, but I've not seen it. However, we are talking about men in general. You're always going to have exceptions.
It's true. That is true.
When the woman do work, just like the man is working.
It's being considerate, isn't it?
It is. And if you do love each other, you need to make both, you know, happy. And somehow women, for a while they will take care. But after a while, after
it's
you
draining.
have the first, the second child, you'll be tired. You're human. So you need that support.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think men initially, they might be a little bit, you know.
Be like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, and because they are so used to takeaways, because my husband, before we got married, he was used to takeaways for weeks done and put in the freezer, and and he would just say, well, you don't want to cook, well, fair enough, I'm just going to go back to my takeaway sometimes. And then now, after the first year, the second year, and I was like, no, I'm not having it. He's been trying more to cook when he can. Yeah. Even though it's probably once in a while, but I know that when he can, he does cook.
Well, I must say, I commend your husband. Baby's fighting me over here, so excuse me. Okay, so that actually takes me on to something that actually I think is very, very important. Compromise. Now, when I first got married, which wasn't too long ago, I really felt like I was losing everything that I thought was important, that I found, you know, that made up me and kind of my thinking and my identity. Now, as somebody who's been in it longer than me, where do you feel the line is between losing yourself and actually compromising to make your marriage work? Where is that line?
Well, I personally think that compromising is such a big part of any marriage, because if you cannot compromise, then you are not going to last. Your marriage is not going to last, because you are both coming from two different backgrounds, two different upbringing, different life, and you now need to try to live together and work together to become one. So that is like every single day you have to just learn initially, especially when you are newlywed, to compromise on, okay, you allow him to leave the shoes there and you just don't like it, or do you just ignore it, or you do it yourself? Because you're going to ask him, he might just say, for him it's not a big deal. Yeah. Those are little things, but sometimes little things could be a lot of little things. Yeah. So which one do you actually just ignore, or which one? So you basically need to learn to pick your battles and obviously choose to know which one to compromise. So for me, you have to compromise for a lot of things in order to work together and to make your marriage, you know, a success.
Definitely. Doesn't really answer the question, but...
Oh, really?
Well, no.
Okay, rephrase it then. Rephrase the question.
No, it was a very good answer. Of course. It was a very good answer, but...
When do you draw the line, you said?
Yeah, and I guess...
So you don't lose yourself.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, I just feel like marriage and compromising is like the same. You just have to work.
I guess the answer is...
Every single day.
Really an answer?
A line. You need to have your limit. Yeah. Everybody have their own limits. Yeah. And I think... It's not even where you draw the line not to forget about yourself. It is, what do you need to do to make your marriage a success? Because you're not going to have that husband that will be 100% like you. Because which means basically you are recreating somebody else who's just like you. You don't have that when you get married.
But here's the thing. It's funny because even if you were to marry yourself.
The male version of yourself?
Yeah. Like, that's a disaster. I couldn't marry me.
Exactly. So think about it.
No, yeah, definitely.
So compromising, I think, is just part of the ingredient of being in a marriage.
Well, successful.
A successful one. So if you cannot compromise, then you won't last. And I think because at the end of the day, we both need to try to say, okay, what can we accept? What is our limit? And what can we tolerate or not? And compromising, it can be about anything.
And the thing is, I fear kind of giving too much.
It's not because you are more probably laid back than him.
I'm a lot more laid back.
That's why.
I don't know if he will agree.
But you know yourself better than him. You probably more laid back.
Yeah, because I'm very much like, look, it's nothing is that deep. Nothing is that
serious
for you to really kind of get all crazy and about it.
Some people are just set in their ways and they are not willing or ready to see other people way of doing things, and that's when it become hard and it's harder. So like, for example, me, I don't like leaving the dishes for them, and do it the following day. I want to do it the same day, the same night before. I like having my sink clean, and that's something I have to learn to just compromise on, because my husband, he can leave it for days and he will do it when he find the time. While me, I won't go to sleep. Well, initially, no. But I had to learn to compromise on things like that because I hated it.
Touch the dishes. What are you talking about compromise? There's no. I do it.
Well, sometimes when I got fed up, I just leave it for days till he's ready to do it. But it was hard. But that's me compromising in the sense that I didn't like it. But because now I'm living with him, it's not just my home, it is our home. So I had to learn to think, okay, it is not just about me now. It's about him, how he feel and how he likes things. And there are other things that I'm going to be more difficult about and just say, okay, but something like that, I had to learn to just say, it's compromising. Okay, you do not want to do it now, but first thing in the morning before you go to work, you have to do it. That's it. And that's how you just make sure that obviously he's helping out more around the home as well. Because sometimes they would just say, we do it, and then they end up not doing it. All the other, Or the other way of compromising is to have a cleaner come in to do it.
Which is the route we might be going down.
Well,
no, definitely, I agree. I think, compromise and, do you know what, a healthy discussion, because you need to really, I think you take it for granted. You're like, oh, in love, you're swept up in getting married, planning and this, because planning a marriage is hard.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have those really, really vital, really
conversations. Yeah.
You know what I mean? These are foundations. You need to have these conversations, and it needs to be healthy. You both should be able to bring up things and discuss it. Because with some people, it might be a case of, she gets too emotional.
Yeah.
Or he gets too aggressive.
Or she knacks too much.
Exactly.
Just because you want to tell him, oh, babe, I don't like that.
You need to be able to actually have these healthy conversations where you talk about, well, actually, what does it mean to be a wife? What is your role in the home, and who's going to do the dishes? It sounds silly, but really it's so important to have these conversations before you get married and start living together, because it's a shock once you get into it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, I'm supposed to do the dishes?
Yeah.
And the laundry? Yeah. And the hoovering?
Yeah.
And look after the baby?
Yeah.
And the list goes on and on and on. You need to have these conversations.
Or if not, just buy a dishwasher. That's another way of compromising.
You get dishwasher. Who's going to take it out of the dish
and put it in?
Who's going to press start? These things are important. You need to actually have them, because if not, it is just a longer uphill battle.
Yeah, totally agree.
Well, I think that's quite a good
chat.
Quite a good chat.
Yeah, very actually fun one.
Have some more chats with me
anytime.
Oh, yay. Well, I need to say a big thank you to all the yummy mummies and striving wives out there who have joined in and listened to our little conversation. You can still join in. Yes, we've recorded this, but we've got the Instagram, we've got the Twitter. So yeah, get involved, send us messages, let us know what you think. What's compromising like for you in your home? Who cooks? Who cleans? What's that battle been like for you? And actually, if you have any advice for myself or Miss J, please definitely send it in. All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.